Welcome to the future, Tales from the Metaverse. So, thank you for coming to another broadcast sponsored by the Virtual Film Company. Today, we're going to be talking about bullying in cyberspace, or more specifically, in virtual reality environments. What got this conversation going, in fact, was Meta's recent change to what they consider to be a safe boundary. And that is something that we're going to discuss. What is a boundary? But in Meta now, you can put up a 4-foot boundary. So that means that, you have to be 4 feet away from me to feel safe. And, I respect some of the issues that people have gone through and the horror of being bullied, but it just seems that perhaps we're going a little bit far. So, Eric.
I feel like even you reading that line, meta, I feel like we're in the metaverse. So you just need to rename that. That's Facebook. Facebook has decided to change their boundaries, and I don't know. I mean, I like it being in this environment because you can choose if you want to be close to people or how much distance you want. I think that is an important thing to educate people on of, oh, okay, I have a choice of how I want to allow people close. Because even here, when you're close to somebody, when they have the barrier on, it's interesting because there's like no energy. But if you give somebody a hug without a barrier on, it's like you can feel them. There's a level of connection. So I do think it's important that we have boundaries, but educating people on what these boundaries are, I feel like is really important. They have an investigation launched on a woman who was groped in the metaverse.
I remember when I first started working in the real world, I used to have a lot of, I was young and perky and cute and whatever, and I worked in the printing industry, so there was a lot of males, and so there was always all kinds of bantering and and stuff like that. And when I was younger, I took it with a grain of salt, but as I've gotten older and women have become more vocal about such, it's definitely inappropriate behavior, but just like anything, you can walk away from it. And in that world, you can walk away from that. You can block people. Why make it, I probably sound like I'm a feminist, which I'm not, but why make it such a big deal? Because it's not real. You can block people, you can move away from people. No, you shouldn't have to not enter certain places. But I've had men come up on me and everything. And I have noticed one thing that I really do like is, and I've done this myself, other women tend to come around and other men come around and see if you're okay. So if there were not other people
Nice.
there noticing that, then shame on them.
Would you weigh that somebody would be, this investigation, there's going to be charges brought out here on cases like this?
The Me Too, whatever you call it. Um, so many women jumped on that. So I'd hate to see this be something that people jump on the bandwagon, say that happened to me, that because this can be a nice place and you don't need a handful of people, cretins, to destroy it for those that use it for other things, for educational purposes, for socializing, any of those things. I don't agree with the boundaries they're putting in Horizon Worlds because, from what I'm reading, I don't build in Horizon. I just started doing things in Altspace, but in Horizon, it's setting up parameters. People can't. They have to change their whole worlds because of the parameters. And 4 feet is a big distance for an avatar. Him and I being this close, I don't consider sexual harassment. Him coming over here and doing this, or and if it's a mistake, because when I first started, I was bumping into everybody, that's fine. But if it's continuous,
If I done this now, sorry, I apologize to Moon Lady, but if I done this,
mhm.
how does that make you feel? Did it make you feel you were groped?
If you continuously did that and continuously was in my face,
if
yes.
that's the point. If I was constantly like this, then
Right.
it's different. But then there's also a block button. There's also it's just all you got a bubble on the bottom. There's like in you especially there's the
Right.
bubble.
There's
You
a
click the
safe bubble. Yes.
So I think the
And
woman.
I think this woman would probably come over and say, what's with this jerk? I would hope she,
Of course,
she would.
yeah. It's like I've encountered some lovely people in this VR alt space, some really nice people and some brilliant events. But I've also encountered some utter assholes, like, and it's just a fact. You just go click block, you make it that easy. Somebody to actually go along and prosecute, I think it's a bit too much, in my opinion. That could have been a kid. That could have been like anyone could be anyone.
I did have one instance. It was the very first time I came in here. Like I said, I sit a lot while I do stuff, so I a lot of times I end up on people and don't even realize it, but I always apologize. It's the key. You apologize. You accept.
Right.
You're accountable for your actions. Accountability is lost. That's big problem is accountability. You take the onus for your actions. But when I went to somewhere in Alt World or Horizon Worlds, some guy, he kept going like this, and he's like you and me, and I actually, now this was my first experience, I actually got very, very upset and very offended, and I looked around and I felt very vulnerable. So I really did feel very vulnerable, and I didn't know the ropes. But then some other person came up and they ended up kicking him out because I wasn't the only female he was doing that to. So I really thank the creator of that world for actually taking a step themselves for preventing that. I think there should be accountability if you're in the world you've created for somebody to, take action.
I was just saying, obviously it comes with accountability, but I think the accountability should just be a ban or a block from all VR or whatever. Ban. I think to take it to an actual criminal court, that's a bit too far because kids are kids and the kids will do it, or teens. Like we're all adults and we're all more mature, but some people are not as mature as others.
I don't know if this is just I live in the U.S. and I don't know if it's been, but I've seen it on Facebook where one child killed some kids in school with a gun, and apparently the parents, the school, everyone knew that, and it's a actually precedential case. They're now charging the parents for the kid having the gun and not noticing. Maybe that could be like you said with your son. You could definitely say, listen, I'm not losing my Facebook account or anything like that for you. So maybe, but this could escalate into that. And then you've got a real problem there. How far is too far?
I do want to thank you guys both for coming up. We really appreciated your feedback. Amy and James, you guys both had your hands up. Do you guys want to both come up to the couch?
Very much.
You're welcome. Welcome.
As another woman in this space, I've also found myself getting, groped. It feels almost stupid saying it because ultimately we are cartoons and this is not real and these aren't our real bodies. But ultimately, the key is in the term virtual reality. Yes, it's virtual. These are characters we see through their eyes. These are my hands, just as those are yours, and this gentleman made a point about intention, basically, we can teleport here and I think it's no different to bumping into someone in real life and saying, oh, sorry, that no one's ever going to accuse you of groping if you bump into them, right? But if you were to reach out your hands and actually, go like that and touch someone in the chest, well, it is intentional, and there's no refuting that. And of course, I mean, just the same as if a child were to come up to you and do it in real life, you would take that very differently to if a grown person or a grown man or a grown woman were to do it to you. And I do find that it can make you feel quite vulnerable and can make you feel uncomfortable. And I don't think there is any place where being made to feel uncomfortable should be acceptable, um, whether it's a virtual reality or in real life, personally. I don't think anyone should feel they have to put their bubble on, because we should have enough courtesy for one another to be able to allow each other personal space and boundaries without having to protect yourself. Just like you wouldn't expect someone to walk up and grope you in real life. We can't do that in person. We can't form a bubble around us. Um, and I think turning around and saying, well, if you don't like it, put your bubble on, is just kind of saying, well, if you don't want to be groped, don't wear revealing clothes. I mean, it's problematic. You shouldn't force someone to have to protect themselves for basic right of personal space, in my personal opinion.
We play poker as well, and
Oh, yeah,
sometimes you see
poker's
kids
bad
on
enough.
there, and actually not even sometimes, it's really often. And my big issue with it is that it's it's somewhere where kids can't be monitored if they're being safe. And I guess it comes into the same kind of talk where we're hearing that women on here, or just people in general, are being harassed, are being, the VR version of harassed and everything. And it just makes me think, if a kid were in that position, in this world where you can literally go up to anyone, see anyone, that could really affect them so much stronger than it would of an adult. And it just makes me really question, how are these kids getting on here, and how can we make this a safer space for kids not to get on here? That was the main thing that I really wanted to bring up.
Everyone deserves a right to be on anywhere in life, really, and feel safe and not sexually harassed. And I think that article is a bit too far. When she takes her guy to court, I think that's a bit, because she was groped. For me, I think that's a bit too far. But like I said, to be sexually harassed, that's just out of order. That's just,
Well,
people do
there's
definitely need
Groping is
educating.
sexual harassment.
It is,
If
yeah.
if
It
you were to
is.
walk up to someone in the street and touch their private parts,
Oh, yeah. I completely agree. I
that would
completely
be
agree there.
harassment, right? Yeah.
But to take a man to court over it, I think that's a bit too far. I generally do.
Well, I'm not sure they actually did. I think they investigated it, and
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the status is right now. Something we should look into, and
Oh,
we
sure.
can.
Well, I'm sure what they investigated was they decided to put up a 4-foot barrier. But the other thing too is,
Yes,
okay,
that
so
was
we,
probably the result.
When we were discussing how to enforce kind of not punishment, but kind of retribution for someone when they get reported for doing something like this, when we create our AltSpace account, when we make our Horizon account, or even when we make our Oculus avatar, maybe instead of just a tutorial on how to move around, they should also incorporate a tutorial on how to behave
Mm,
and correct
yeah.
avatar etiquette,
Right.
because clearly it is something that's important to a lot of people. I mean,
Mm,
I've had a couple of incidences on All Stars Poker where I felt incredibly uncomfortable. And even after blocking those
mm.
people, just knowing they were there on the table with me has made me feel uncomfortable enough that I've wanted to leave, right? I just
Sorry to
don't
hear
think
that.
it's, yeah, I mean, it does suck. And specifically in these kind of areas, which I don't mean to be sexist at all, are very male dominant areas. There is a lot more attention that gets placed on a female in these kinds of situations, right? Um, Often, not always. Um, and I just believe that maybe if Facebook did create some kind of tutorial before you're allowed to enter the game, saying, be respectful to others, don't touch other people any way that you wouldn't touch them in real life. We all see the same thing. We're all seeing through our avatar's eyes. It's one thing to look at a screen and see first person, but you still look down and you see, okay, these are my human hands, and these are my, I am sitting in my living room and I'm safe in my space. But when your eyes are completely immersed in a completely different world, you are cut off from reality. So it does
Absolutely.
impact you completely differently to how it would be in a video game where you're shooting each other, you know, or stuff like that, because there is that comfort of detachment when you're looking at it on a screen. We don't have that here. So your brain, even though you don't feel the groping or feel the punch in the face, your brain still processes it as someone's just come up to
your
me
brain
and touched
registers
me,
it.
you know?
Your brain registers
absolutely.
as real. It's hard to fool our brain. Like if you get hit with cold water, very, very cold water, and you don't know it's cold water, it actually feels like burning. So your brain is it's very in tune, and we as any animal have the instinctive flight or fright. You know, was it flight or fight instinct?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to get even more interesting when we, have haptic vests on, and those are, coming down in price.
That's coming.
Where I expect people to have, more and more of them, and so a physical touch in VR, or physical touch, a virtual touch rather in VR, will be felt as a physical touch on a person,
Physical
and so I think
sensation,
exactly, yes,
and then
yes,
groping and sexual harassment will be
Ooh.
even more prominent
Even more.
issue, because not
Really?
only will we visually experience it and have the emotional reaction, but we'll physically feel it too, which will elicit a physical reaction. So I don't know. That's gonna come with a lot of complications.
That's a great example of the metaverse, right? It's none of us are even the same state, but yet we're all in the same space. Like there's just such a power in that.
Exactly.
Absolutely right.
Okay, it was great to have you all here. See you next time.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.